Welcome back to JB Reviews. So we're finally starting to do some testing with the dually. So far, my wife and I did a comfort test. Now my wife drives a 2022 Wagoneer. That thing is super comfortable. So in that video, you gotta go back and watch it. My wife gave her impressions on driving a big old dually. So I'm actually headed to Paris RV today. I'm tired, we just worked out this morning. And so we're gonna go ahead and head out and we're gonna get an idea of the fuel economy. Now this video is gonna be for real world. So I'm gonna go down the street, fill up diesel. I'm gonna fill up the DEF tank too, although I'm not really doing DEF in this video. Whenever I go on a long trip, maybe I'll take the dually, like if we're going a couple hours one way and back, maybe I can kind of do a DEF test, but honestly, it probably won't matter. I've done them in the past, so just check those videos. But let's go ahead and walk into the garage because I did something a little different. So my wife went out and she'll be back soon. And once she gets back, I'm basically gonna be heading out. But I parked the dually on her side of the garage just to see if it would fit. Holy smokes. It fit, but man, if you have a dually, you're gonna have to park it away from your steps because there's no way to really get out without it being uncomfortable. But as you guys saw in the last video I did, the dually fit perfectly. Actually fit like a glove. And you guys see I have the single rear wheel with the standard bed. I mean, these trucks are very close in size. Like I could probably come back maybe like 2 or 3 more inches. But yeah, up front, I mean, you can tell, I mean, it's only about a foot difference in these trucks. It's not a lot. So all in all, let's go ahead and get started and let's head down the road. So here is the tire pressure. I haven't done anything to these tires since I got the truck, so I need to actually redo the tire pressure. And let's see where the transmission is. So the transmission is about 75 degrees when we started. But I'm headed to the gas station right now and we'll just go ahead and top off. I mean, I'm pretty much at what, 3/4 full. One thing I like about this truck is this does have a high flow gas tank. So this is basically a, you know, semi truck pump as I call it. So it pumps really fast. And yeah, it just makes it easier to get diesel in here and get out. So yeah, we only filled up, yeah, 8.6 gallons at $34.46. I'm not gonna top it off actually. I'm not gonna top it off right now, and here's why. Actually, I almost forgot to mention, this is actually a high flow DEF tank too, so you can pretty much fill this up pretty quickly. The reason why I didn't top it off is because I've learned that on GM HDs, specifically diesels, they tend to take another 2 gallons of fuel. And what I'll do is, although I didn't top off this time, when I come back, I'll top off one time. And that should be pretty, like, I would say real world for fuel economy. I want to get the best reading I can, and we'll put that up against the computer too. But it shows here my best on this truck was 20.9, but that's not a consistent 20.9. That was just a short drive of 25 miles. But all in all, guys, this truck, if you haven't watched the video my wife did, she actually gave her opinion on how the truck rode. And shockingly, my wife has driven luxury sedans mostly, and now she has the Wagoneer, which is really comfortable riding. And she actually would drive this truck. She said, I asked her, I didn't put in the video, but I asked her, would you drive this truck, you know, full time if you had to? And she said, I wouldn't have a problem. So yeah, she's happy with the overall control of this truck and how comfortable it is. But don't get me wrong, you remember really quickly you're in a dually when you hit a bump. But I think the biggest improvement for this Duramax was the low end torque. This truck is so responsive in the lower speeds. Now if you're going from 0, that's the only time you do notice a little bit of a delay. But if you're rolling at 3 miles an hour and you hit it, it connects. Like, this truck is so well tuned. And GM has always kind of been the leader when it comes down to like engine swaps. Like, what do people normally put in their, you know, their cars, trucks, if they're swapping an engine? Typically the LS1. That's like the most popular one. I know the Duramax is built through Isuzu, but you know, doesn't GM, I don't know, does GM still own Isuzu? I don't know, but it doesn't matter. Nevertheless, I'm pretty sure that GM has a hand in the tuning of this truck, and it's really good. And that's kind of the reason why I think they decided not to go crazy on the horsepower and torque. I'm pretty sure this engine has a lot more juice in it, but they're playing it safe, and I'm okay with that. Like, I actually like the fact that this truck doesn't have crazy horsepower and torque because it's super fast. Like, I will do a 0 to 60. I should do a 0 to 60 in this video. I actually wasn't thinking about doing it, but we'll do 0 to 60 in this truck today, and we'll see how fast it is. Like, I will be honest with you guys, this truck is fast. And yeah, we'll do that in the video today. So the truck only has 680 miles, so it's pretty much broken in at this point. I like to get to 1,000 miles and then change the oil before I do anything. But this time around, I think I'm happy with this getting over 500 miles, and I'll start towing with it soon. Now this is kind of early in the game, but we're showing 20.5 MPG. Now we've just been in the city, and I mean, I've stopped at maybe 2 red lights since we've been driving. But I think that's another thing about this new Duramax. I think that it's more fuel efficient than the previous one. Now granted, obviously if you're hot rodding this bad boy, you know, that horsepower and torque's gonna take a hit on your fuel economy. I mean, you can see when you're going stop and go, I dropped 2 MPGs basically. But when we get on the highway, before we get on the highway, I will show you guys where we are, because we're gonna probably hit maybe 3 or 4 more lights, if not more than that. I think we're gonna probably hit 5 or 6 maybe, because there's one up here, there's one more before I have to turn left, and I think there's 3 on the next row, 3 or 4 on the next row. So 3, 4, 5, about 5 lights. So this should be a good test. Now I will say too, just because I don't want to like give you guys the wrong impression here, I am going downhill because I am at a higher elevation where I live at. But yeah, check out these views, and I don't know if you guys can tell, there's a lake right there. I think that's Utah Lake. It looks really nice. Now notice how the truck at about 53 miles an hour is running just over 1,000 RPMs. I'm gonna get up to about 60 now. There you go. I'm willing to bet that's probably about 1,500 RPMs or less. So 342 rear out back, and that's probably why you're gonna always see these RPM solo on the GM trucks. All right, you guys ready for this? I gotta show you something. I did a video on this, watch this. Check right front turn lamp, out again. The dealership said they didn't find anything wrong with it. They said they hooked it up to something. I guess the OBD maybe, or to look for codes. They didn't see anything in there. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. But see now, I mean, I really want them to fix that, like, cause you know, this truck is way too new to be having an out daytime running light. Now it's just a daytime running light and a turn signal, that's it. Everything else works. So I don't know what they have to do, but they gotta have to do something. All right, so here's 60 to 80. When we got onto the interstate, I was at 18.6. And after doing that acceleration, I was at 18 even. Now I'm looking at the instant MPG where it fluctuates. I've been averaging about 21 to 22. I'm going downhill right now, so showing like 25, 26, but okay, so a little bit more straighter. So right now, oh yeah, we're kind of going up a little bit of a, it's at 12, 11 right now. But like, it was sitting at 20 MPG for a minute. Now it's at like 15, 14. But in the past, when I've done testing with Rams, and specifically the dualies, the best I was ever able to get was like 14 to about 15 MPG. That was like all of it. And that was, I would say for those trucks, that's pretty good. That doesn't sound good, but that's about what you're gonna get with these dualies, because those had 410 rears. But this rear end 342, I think you can easily get 16 in this truck combined, easily. Now, if you're on the highway cruising in this flat road, you probably can get 17 18 in this truck? I think you can, and that's because of that rear end. I do wish they would allow for a lower gearing out back. I personally like that because I want to go bigger tire. So it would be nice to be able to have that offset when you obviously go bigger tire, because you really change the gearing out back with the tires. So I just rather them offer that as an option. But yeah, so far we're at about 1,800 RPMs, 80 miles an hour. It's just such an easy drive. I might be forever sold on a dually. Now today, I'm not just doing a fuel economy run. Like normally when I do my fuel economy runs, I'm just driving, you know, just to do the fuel economy. Today I actually have to go to Paris RV to get some RV reviews. Like I am running low, and the one I'm going to in Payson is far from my house. I should go to the ones out in Murray because those are a lot closer to my other dealers, but I like to just do my RV reviews one day and do truck reviews another day, because like RVs take me a long time to record. Like I have to go and look at the RVs, like I have to go through all of them and see which floor plan I want to do. It's just a lot more time consuming, so I don't think I would ever have the time to do both, like trucks and RVs. But yeah, I am excited to really see like some of the ones they have here. Like be sure to check it out. I'm going there to do a video on a DRV Mobile Suites full house, which is a toy hauler, and this truck should be able to pull that rig. Now sometimes people don't think about this, but you probably would need a cabin chassis for a lot of those big RVs, especially like a Lux. And a few people I talk to are like, oh, I don't want a big truck like that. Well, I mean, those RVs are heavy, and unless you're putting a big toy out in the garage, you're probably going to need something like a 45 or 5500. Like this truck has 5,300 pounds of payload, but if you figure a hitch, and if you're buying an RV like that, you're probably full timing, so you're going to probably want to add an additional 50-gallon fuel tank. You're going to run out of payload even on a dually. So I would really strongly recommend a cabin chassis at those bigger RVs. But they actually have a few other ones. I don't know if I want to post those videos, but like I said, that's where I'm going today and why I'm doing this drive, and I just want to kind of explain that to you guys. Wow, 62, 63, 65, 66, 65, 66 back there too. Interesting. $64, $65. So when I get the 35s and 37s, actually I already ordered tires. I just haven't posted a video yet. But I might have got 35s, guys. I got scared. I might have got scared. Who knows? I'll be able to do this whole test all over again and give you guys the numbers for that too. Man, this truck is getting great. It's showing on the computer 19.3. Now, I've been driving about 77 to 80 miles an hour because traffic sometimes won't allow me to go 80. This road is actually 75, but I'm only gonna go 80. I don't want to go any faster than that, honestly. But we'll be there in like 5 minutes. So we've already driven 36 miles. So yeah, this will be like probably an 80-mile trip, I would say. Wow. I don't know if you guys can see in the right lane, but there's a Chevy behind me, and there's a 2024 GMC. They getting the work in. I've seen like 3 GMs on the road today towing. Like normally it's Ram. I've seen some Ram trucks, obviously. You always see Ram trucks towing heavy. But yeah, I've seen 2 back there. I don't know what's in front of me right now. Look at that. Another GM truck. That's a GM truck right there. I guess when you own something, you see it all the time. That's a GM over there. That's a GMC that just went by. Is that a fifth? Just a fifth wheel, regular fifth wheel. That's a GM truck right there. So look at GM, who worked? Just made it to Paris RV. So basically it took us a little bit over 42 miles to get here. So, man, they have a ton of RVs here. If you are in the market, guys, you know, they've actually been the most helpful dealer so far. Like I went to a dealership out here, I'm not gonna say who it was, and man, talk about like arrogant. Like I talked to one of the sales managers there, And he was like, wow. I was appalled. I thought he was joking at first. I laughed, and maybe I shouldn't have done that. I laughed at the guy's face because I thought he was joking with me. But he wasn't joking. He was, yeah, he was pretty adamant about saying no. And so I was like, okay, well, I will go somewhere else. But you know, at the time, my wife and I were thinking about full-time RVing for like 5 more years, and they had an RV that we wanted to buy actually. But we decided to rent a house and start our rental business with RV. So we bought an RV from these guys. So all in all, that's where we are. Now when I show you guys again, I'll be back at home, okay? But you will see the 0 to 60 before then. Here we go.
30. 60. Quarter mile.
All right, so I'm heading home now. You guys just saw the 0 to 60. Like I told you, this truck is fast. But you guys see that? We're hitting a headwind going back this way, so I'm glad we're doing this test. So it's still fluctuating between like 14 and like 17. Now when I get behind a car, it does go up a little bit, but for the most part, like I said, you can really hear the wind going this way. Alrighty, we are about to be at the fuel station. So here's just the averages I've been doing on the way home here. Let me show you guys something too. If I can find it, here it is. So transmission fluid's at 144, yeah, 142. So one thing I just noticed, I got up to about 156 degrees on the transmission. Now that was in the city, so when stop and go, or if you're just stopped, the transmission does get warm. So I actually learned something new today. I knew that it gets warm stopping and going, but when you stop for about a couple minutes, that transmission temperature is just sitting, so then it gets warm that way too. But yeah, we just pulled in back to the fuel station. This is where we started at, and I don't know if I mentioned in the video yet, but I basically, what did I do today? I actually had to run some of the RVs with my truck because my generator wasn't working. It wasn't my generator that was broken, it was just for some reason the surge protectors on the RVs were just not allowing my generator to work. So it was throwing fault codes. So basically I did idle a little bit. I should have ran a timer, but probably no more than like 7 or 8 minutes. But here's where we are. Trip 1, 16.9, drove 86 miles almost, and averaged 46 miles an hour. Not bad. Now let's go ahead and fill up with fuel and let's see what the pump says. So here it is. Driving 86 miles, I burnt 5.5 gallons of fuel. Now I have not topped it off yet. So here's what I'm gonna do. This is that high flowing pump, so I have to be really careful. This thing will come splashing out. So here we go. There it is. That's all I can get. Another 1/2 gallon. So I normally do run fuel injector cleaner in my truck. I do Hot Shot Secrets, but I have not put it in this truck yet. But let's go ahead and see what the pump says for the fuel economy, and then that will pretty much end this video. So that's where the transmission ended off at. It went up like 3 degrees basically. So trip 1 says, like I've said, 85.8. So let's do that math. So it's gonna be 85.8 divided into 6.006. So 14.3 versus 16.9. Now, like I said, I was idling at the dealership probably no more than 10 minutes, but that's gonna affect it. And then I did stop a couple times on the drive, but all in all, that's not bad. Like I said, that's what you can expect to get if you're doing mixed driving. Like that was probably, I would say 60-40 maybe is what I did today. But if I was on the highway constantly, I think this truck could easily get 17 MPG, especially if it's not climbing too many grades. But I hope you guys liked the video. Stay tuned. I do plan on doing some towing videos next week. I'm going to be getting all the footage. And as you guys know, we're going to be leveling and putting some big tires on this truck. So it's going to look pretty cool. And I cannot wait to show you guys MPG with that. towing, all that good stuff. See you guys soon. One last thing, we burnt DEF on that drive, so I'm wondering if I didn't fill it all the way up. I guess that's another video for another day though. Later.